Here I'm Murph, formerly Dr. Charles Murfield. I'm head of the Future Farming Centre, and this is a short webinar giving an overview of the new soil health and its management report. So if you want to grab a copy of the report, there's a QR code you can scan, grab a screenshot of, and the URL there, and I'll put this up again at the end. So an outline of the report and this presentation here, the importance of soil health, the revolution that's occurred in soil science, this metaphor of the three-legged stool of soil health, the legs being physics, chemistry, and biology. And the final part of the report is some key DIY soil health tests, and there's a much larger report detailing those that's also available on the Future Farming Centre website. It's impossible to overstate the importance of soil and its health. It's right at the heart of many of our planetary systems, such as the carbon cycle, and our biggest challenges, planetary boundaries such as climate change and biodiversity loss and nutrient pollution. Many ecosystem services rely on soil for their provision. And after air to breathe and water to drink, food is the most important thing humans need to stay alive. And most of our food comes from farming, and farming is based in soil. And therefore, all of our civilization is predicated on farming, and farming is predicated on soil, making it pretty important. And also, in terms of farming itself, unhealthy soil simply can't grow as much crops and pasture as healthy soil. So, in terms of productivity and profitability, healthy soil is really key there too. And over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a revolution in soil science about how organic matter forms. And as organic matter is the primary driver of soil health, this new understanding is really critical to soil management. What we used to think is outlined on the left-hand side of this diagram. Residues such as plant leaves end up on the soil surface. They're broken up by small organisms, and then microbes decompose them further, and it turns into POM, particulate organic matter. And we used to think this was the main source of organic matter in soils, but the new science says no, it's not. The new science is on the right. Plants push out through their roots exudates simple soluble compounds such as sugars and proteins that feed microbes that are then the foundation of the food ecosystem. The nutrients and energy in those exudates then cycles through the soil ecosystem and ends up as tiny particles inside soil minerals. And this is called mineral associated organic matter, MAOM. Around 80% of organic matter is formed from plant root exudates. It's the primary source of energy and nutrients for soil biology. So this tells us that it's not the residues, the likes of manure and compost and plant leaves. It's living plants that drive the soil ecosystem. Then the report goes on to use this metaphor of a three-legged stool of soil health, with the three legs being the physical, chemical, and biological or ecological health of the soil. And the metaphor is that with a three-legged stool, each leg is supporting each other, so they all need to be the same length. So they're interdependent on each other, and you can't substitute one for the other. You can't compensate for poor biological health by increasing chemical health, because then you'd have one leg that's short and one leg that's long. It would be a useless stool. Examples of healthy and unhealthy soil. Healthy on the left, it's darker in color due to the increased organic matter, which is around 40 odd percent carbon, which itself is black, and there's roots and it's nice and crumbly, and there's pore space and there's earthworms. And the unhealthy soil on the root, it's platy, it's blocky, it's compacted, there's few roots and earthworms. So soil physical health is all about structure, about aggregation, and also pore spaces. A good analogy is soil should be like a sponge. It should be mostly tubes, pores, continuous holes. And these are what allow water and gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide to get in and out of the soil. The stability of the aggregates themselves is a very valuable overall measure of soil health. And in terms of farming, the things that destroy soil structure are not having those diversity of living plants producing the root exudates. Then compaction from livestock, which tends to compact the surface of the soil and get rid of the macropores so soil can no longer breathe. And also machinery, which will put compaction to depth. We are talking a meter, a yard, and even more. And tillage and cultivation, depending on your version of English. Chemical soil health, simple conceptually, it's basically having the right nutrients, the right chemical elements for life, and pH. The report touches on the difference between the essential and the beneficial nutrients. Then it takes a different angle and looks at nutrients through different lenses, that of stoichiometry, which is the science that studies the ratio of nutrients, elements in organisms, the nutrient cycles, both global and within the soil itself, and touches on Liebig's law of the minimum, which links through to stoichiometry. The report takes a bit of a deeper dive into key nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, and links through to further resources, extensive resources looking at those nutrients and farming in the context of the global challenges we face. The report considers the importance of micronutrients and the fact that much soil and therefore food is micronutrient deficient globally, and organic nutrient sources such as compost and their overuse. Biological, ecological health in this context means the same thing. Again, going back to that new science, the thing that's going to drive soil biology, all those microbes are root exudates. So it's important to have the diversity of living plants producing those exudates. It's the most diverse, biodiverse ecosystem on Earth, on planet Earth. Some 60% of all species make soil their home, including everything that's in the ocean. But in terms of genetic diversity, that all lies amongst the bacteria and the archaea. Us big things are actually not very genetically diverse at all. The report considers why measuring soil biodiversity, soil biology, is mostly of no value in terms of farming and growing. And then has a brief look at some key techniques in terms of managing livestock systems, pasture, and also cropping, arable and vegetables, and how to improve those systems to improve soil health, and looks at biostimulants and biofertilizers and why most of them are no use and a waste of money. DIY soil health tests are tests you can do yourself in the field. Technique here is to compare what I call the fence line and the middle of the field. The fence line essentially means an area of the field, literally under a fence line or a hedge, an area where it's not being cropped and where livestock are not being able to stand or graze, compared to the middle of the field, where all these farming activities are taking place. That will often show up significant differences, the impacts of the farming system on soil health. The simplest test is the spade test. It's literally dig a hole with a spade and have a look, and like those photos I showed you of the healthy and unhealthy soil, interpret what you're seeing. Taking that to the kind of logical conclusion is the visual soil assessment. This is a detailed assessment using numerical scores to give you an overall score of your soil's health and comparable amongst soils. A probe is simply about a meter yard long steel rod, about 12 millimeters, half an inch in diameter on a handle. And you push it into the soil and you can feel and hear what's going on underground, including to depth. A penetrometer is simply a probe with a dial on it to give you a numerical reading. Ring infiltrometers are plastic or steel rings between about 10 and 30 centimeters, 4 and 12 inches in diameter, and about the same height. And these are pushed or hammered into the soil a few centimeters, an inch deep, filled with water. And the rate at which the water infiltrates into the soil gives you an indication of health. That also indicates what rate of rainfall your soil can absorb. And aggregate stability, as mentioned before, it's a really good surrogate overall measure of soil health. And this is typically measured by getting a jar full of water, a piece of dry soil, and suspending it in the top of the jar in a wire mesh and seeing if it disintegrates and the water turns cloudy or whether it stays nice and clear. And there is also, of course, now an app for this that allows you to do a more precise numerical measurement. So I hope that was a useful overview of the report. Again, the QR code, if you want to download the full report, and next to this video on YouTube is a webinar essentially going through the report page by page and explaining it in a video format. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.